Alright, today I have something interesting to share with you. I know a lot of us have started doing courses during the lockdown and the results have been effective, but I do hear some challenges people have been facing lately. The main one being they either do not have access to a PC or laptop, or one that is powerful enough to handle tasks like machine learning without crashing. So here's the solution, alright. This one is quite handy and you can run it on your phone too. All you need is a smartphone from the last decade with internet or a system that can connect to the internet. So this is Google's Colab, which is short for Colaboratory. This is like a playground for Python code. This is built and optimized for Python code and Python programming in general. So here you can use it the same way as what you would use a Jupyter notebook. I would recommend Googling that. Essentially what Jupyter notebook does is provides you with these text fields, which are referred to as cells, in which you can write and execute code selectively. And the code that has been executed in one cell is again accessible from the other cell. I'll just show you a small demo of how that works. So here we have a variable a, okay, that stores the value 10. Okay, I execute this piece of code. So once I do that, I can go to the next line where I'm actually printing the value of a, multiplying it with 10. So let's do that. So after executing that, you can see that it's changed to 100. Now, if I change it here, if I change it to 12, I do not run this again, but I press print. This shows 100 once again. But if I had to run this piece of code here again, which assigns a to 12, I mean 12 to a, and then print a into 10, I'll get 120. So this is how code persists over each cell. And this is handy in a lot of ways that you'll see as we explore this notebook right here. Alright, so let's move along and look at function definitions within cells and how they persist over other cells as well. So here we have a function in the third cell. We have a function that calculates a factorial of a number. So given an input integer, it will give you it'll return the factorial value as well as print a statement that says the factorial of so and so number is so and so. So let's just get started. First, we run the function definition so that it is saved in the memory of the Jupyter notebook. And then we call the function here with a value of 10. We pass the value of 10. So you see that it prints the statement here that I've already declared. It says 10 factorial is 3628800, and as well shows the return value as well. Normally you wouldn't find the return value being printed, but in case of Colab, return values are printed by default as well. Now you can see that you can basically execute any kind of Python code within this Colaboratory environment, and this is completely isolated. You don't have to install anything on your system, okay, and you can use it on your phone as well. It's pretty handy. I would recommend buying a dongle, a USB micro B or type C to regular USB A converter, so you can connect your keyboard and practice on your phone as well, because you always want to get used to typing and all that. Anyways, now I'll show you how to install dependencies. So it's like you normally install dependencies in Python using pip install, right? So here you can do the same thing as well. So suppose you're installing NumPy or something like that. I'll show you how that is done as well. Alright, so I'll show you how to add code into this laboratory. So normally you would just either go here between the space between two cells, and you can just press code or text. Text is basically for writing lines like these. This is used for providing documentation. Usually these Colab files or the entire URL is shared with people, and the text acts like documentation for the entire code. Anyways, you can either go here and press code, or you can press code over here, and it will create a cell after the last active cell that you have used. So once here, let's just first install NumPy. So to install, normally you go into the shell and you type pip install NumPy. Here what you have to do is to pass shell commands in Colab, you have to start the statement with an exclamation mark. So this tells the interpreter that we are actually passing shell arguments. So first we do pip install NumPy. And then you see a small progress bar, and then it says the requirement has already been satisfied. So this is how you install dependencies in Google Colab. And this is and Google Colab comes built in with a lot of commonly used data science packages, NumPy, SciPy, TensorFlow as well, the latest version of TensorFlow. So you don't have to do a lot of setup process and all that, wait for all of that to be finished. And Colab's internal network is super fast. In case you're downloading any pip packages as well, it'll be done within a couple of seconds, whereas on your regular system on decent internet it would probably take 10-15 minutes at max. So this is handy in that way as well. Can get started quickly and write some code, experiment with the framework or library as well. So then next we'll just see how we can implement a small Flask app using Colab and then actually view the outputs as well within the browser. Alright, so here you see that I have already prepared all the code because I do not want to go into explaining the Flask code. This is fairly easy. You can look up tutorials. I'll link a few tutorials in the description as well that I have personally referred to and have helped me a lot, even with advanced Flask programs. So anyways, first you have the installation one. Here we are actually installing a different variety of Flask. This is Flask ngrok. What ngrok allows you to do is, we'll get into that later, but in a nutshell, one of the limitations of Colab is that it's not really a limitation. This is actually a side use case that we are trying to use Colab for. Colab was always meant for you to do data science compute on the browser, because Google actually lends you GPUs like Tesla V80s and all that from NVIDIA. So this was actually a remote compute solution where you could develop your data science applications and test out pipelines. But we are actually trying to use it for other purposes as well, apart from data visualization and all that. So we are actually trying to run a web server. So as you can see, this is not a typical system. So we cannot actually, run a web server on port 5000 and then you can't just go to colab.research.google.com/:5000 and expect your port to be exposed over there and get your homepage and all that. So that doesn't work that way. So we use ngrok for that to map your local instance to a IP address that is exposed externally to everyone. So let's just get started. All right. So let's get into the Flask code. All right. I'm not going to explain every line because for that you can actually Google a Flask tutorial and all that. There are better people who can explain code to you and they have more comprehensive guides. I'll link them in the description as well. Tutorials that I have referred to personally and helped me a lot, even with advanced Flask projects. So let's just get started. First, you do pip install Flask ngrok. What ngrok allows you to do is actually one of the limitations. There's not really a limitation. This is a limitation in our use case, which wasn't the intended use case for Google Colab. Google Colab was always meant for data science workflows. So it's like you're working on a TensorFlow project or something like that. You're building a model. So in case you do not have a powerful enough system with a good graphics card, you could basically get a graphics card allocated to you. Google Colab actually offers you like Tesla V80s and all that. So you can use a good GPU and reduce training time. You could tweak your machine learning hyperparameters and all that, see which is suitable, and then implement them in your local system as well. So that is how Google Colab actually made machine learning much more accessible to developers. And then you can work remotely as well. Thanks to that, you can stay away from your system and work on your phone as well. So anyways, we'll get to that. What really is the problem is that because if you run a Flask server, right now this will run on port 5000. What happens is, let's just run it. I'll show you what happens. So once you press run, you will see that it says running on localhost 5000. So if I go there, you'll see that it says internal server error. It can't do that because what's happening is here when it says 127.0.0.1:5000, it's actually searching for a local host on the local host of my system for a running server on port 5000, and my system is not running any server on that port at the moment. If I was running a Node.js application or something like that, Express server, probably you would see that, but you would not see this Flask application. So for that, we are using ngrok. What ngrok does is it will expose this localhost instance onto a external IP address that is accessible from outside, and then it's given a domain name as well using ngrok service. It's actually a paid service. They give you one free URL permanently. That's free forever. So it'll keep changing all the time. Anyway, so we can actually go here to D2F5A or whatever, and you'll see that .ngrok.io is part of the domain. So once you go there, you'll see that my default route, which says NH1 running Flask on Google Colab thanks to ngrok. You see the same message over here. So this is how ngrok makes it really accessible. You can actually copy this link and send it to your friends or WhatsApp or whatever, and they can access it as well. So it's not isolated to your own instance right now. However, if you stop the cell, okay, let's stop the cell, and if you restart the cell, you'll see that the link will be changed again. Now it is 97DA something something. Earlier it was D to F5. So if you actually go back here and check the old link, you can actually see that you get a 404 error because this URL has been deallocated by ngrok services and it's no longer available to you. You get the new link, and this one again obviously you can send it to your friend, they can access it as well. Okay, this is one cool way of showcasing what your demos you have right from the Colab instance itself. So let's move on, let's go to the next route. Okay, so here we have the second route. We have a /home/username. Okay, I'll explain how that works. We go to /home/ I type my name. I've already done this, so I'll just skip that. Yes. Sushrit. So it says hello Sushrit. What it does is it actually takes arguments from the URL itself. Okay, and then that argument can be assigned to a variable, and that variable is obviously accessible within the function that is associated with the route. So here I've assigned it as username, and then that username is accessible throughout the function definition. So using this, obviously you can perform a lot of function calls and all that on the input details. I'll show you one where we're using the factorial function that we declared earlier. Okay, so let's go to /fact, and then we pass a number. So since we already know about 10, okay, we've already computed that before, so you'll see that it says 10 factorial is 3628800. All right, you can actually add another function between that adds commas properly so that people can actually read it. So there's supposed to be 1 comma here and then another comma here, so you realize that's actually 3 million. Now let's move on. So you've done this. Now I want to show you where Colab really shines, is that it was built for data science and machine learning workflows. All right, so if you wanted to build a chatbot or something, you keep training on the training data for better and better accuracy. Sometimes you get somewhere around 90%, sometimes you get 80-85. So you always want to save the model that has the highest accuracy possible. So what I used to do normally is, because even if I have a super powerful system, running a machine learning model so many times, it takes a lot of time and it consumes a lot of power as well. So here what you could do is you could create multiple instances of the Colab notebook, you can train them, and then you can see which hyperparameters are good, and then you can copy them over to your local system and then run the training file again for better optimization and all that. Also, you can download the machine learning models after training. You can download that as well. That is all. You can find that in tutorials for Colab. This video is really meant to show you how you can utilize Colab to work remotely when you do not have access to a system or one that is capable of running all of these workflows. All right, so let's look at the next one. This is the chat one. So we go to /chat/ you type your message. So I say hi. All right. So it says you said hi and bot says hi too. Here what I did was I just made the bot also say whatever the user says. What you could have here, you could have a API call, or you could have a function called your machine learning logic where the inference is run on the input, and then the output you can actually output through the HTML tags. All right, you can do that. So this is one of the use cases where you can really glue together all of your Python applications and expose them on a port, and then everybody can see them. All right, this is a good way of showcasing your projects. And then the other one is something interesting that does not work on Colab, unfortunately, is templating. So what happens is, let me show you the files. Okay, I've created a file called home.html, which uses Jinja templating. What Jinja templating allows is within HTML, you can add Python variables. Okay, we use a syntax that uses double braces. Inside that, you have the name of the variable as well. So now this is actually supposed to add another one. Okay, so once you do that, what you can do is you can actually pass your URL parameters. Okay, like we're capturing username and all that earlier. So if you go to /profile/ this is not going to work. This will only work on your local system because of how files are handled on Colab. So if you go to /profile/ Sushrit, Okay, this is going to fail. But normally you would have a HTML file display, a website that would display, web page that would display saying, title is actually here is the username itself. Username, and then user is also again username. So it would just say Sushrit's profile, and then there'll be a H1 saying, hello Sushrit. Okay, so that's how Flask really works, and that's how you can develop web applications. You can develop and test them on Colab as well. You can really try any kind of code here on Colab to gear towards Python programming, and then by getting a little bit creative, like in this case where we used ngrok, okay, you can use Colab for purposes that it wasn't clearly designed for. Okay, you can use it to develop, and you can use it to practice. I usually use it when I'm on the go. Okay, when I'm in college or something and I have some free time, or there's a boring lecture going on, I'll open my phone and I'll start using Google Colab, and then I can just prototype. And as I was referring to earlier, I use multiple instances to tune the hyperparameters and all that. So that is how Colab is really good. Also, I quickly wanted to show you how this really looks on the mobile phone as well. There's no dedicated app on the Play Store or App Store that you can find for Google Colab, but when you open it in your browser on the phone, this is how it looks. Let's just give it a second. Let's refresh, reload. Just give it a couple of seconds, and then you see that it's very well mobile optimized. It actually has inline, on-screen keyboard support as well. So within each cell, you can actually press this keyboard button, and then you can have your on-screen keyboard show up. In this case, it already knows that I have a physical keyboard connected, so it's not going to prompt the on-screen keyboard, but if you're on the phone, it'll show you the on-screen keyboard, and then you can start typing. And as you can see, the font and everything is really accessible, and this is literally how I spend most of my free time in college. So you can try it out on your phone as well. I'd recommend a USB dongle, as I was referring to earlier, so you don't lose your keyboard feel and all that. Don't lose your typing speed and all that. And on-screen keyboards are not really convenient for coding because all the symbols and all that are like one modifier away now, instead of like normally accessible right over there, single keystroke. So let me know how Colab has helped you so far, and I'll hang around in the comments. Respond to some queries and all that, and let me know what you want to see in the next video that optimizes your productivity or any challenges you're facing. And stay subscribed for more content like this that will optimize your development workflow during the lockdown. All right, thank you.